So this is a Superstar session. Why QA input during development is critical. With my guest, Rafael Torner, QA Manager, Gaming Solutions at TransPerfect. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you as well.
Very good. You're all mic'd up.
Yeah.
The clicker is right here.
Perfect.
Hopefully you have everything you need.
So which one is
Green for go.
green
And
to go?
Red for back if you need
Go
it.
back. All right, perfect.
Sweet. Thank you.
All right,
Ben.
great. Hi everyone. Nice to see you here. A bunch of good-looking people. I'll have to tell you that it's my first time speaking in front of complete strangers. So sorry if there's anything that doesn't work out very well. But here we go. So my name is Rafael. I am the QA manager for TransPerfect Gaming Solutions. I have been in QA, localization quality assurance and functionality quality assurance for nearly 12 years now. And I've worked for a couple of vendors, for a couple of developers, and now I'm heading operations at TransPerfect. So yeah, we are here today to talk about the importance of QA in games, or the importance of the input from the QA people that work in your projects. This is something that you might have heard before, and it's not really. I'm not here to tell you all you have to listen to us, or it's not about me trying to get you to just listen to QA for the sake of it. There's obviously advantages and disadvantages, and there's good times and bad times for QA. Now, well, I guess I should have started with this slide. Now, okay, the question, what do I do to help developers, mobile developers? So we work with a plethora of mobile developers, all sizes, from one-man teams to larger studios, 20, 40, 50, 100 people, and some of the larger ones that you all know and love. And we give them the knowledge that, we bring the knowledge that we have in QA and other services as well, but in my case it's QA. And we bring this knowledge to them so they can so they can skip that learning process, which takes often a lot of times, and a learning process will cause you to have failures as well. So we help them skip those failures, and they go straight to having successful and experienced QA people working on their projects. So, as I mentioned, I'm not here to talk about. I'm not here to tell you just listen to QA, but some of you, if you're already developing or if you're familiar with development, you'll know that QA a lot of times can be put into a category that can be seen as, like it says in here, that it's an obstacle, something just to get through, something that's not as desirable. If you'll notice, a lot of times QA people are not even put in games credits, and this is obviously to developers' discretion, of course. I don't think there's a problem with that, but just to show you that there is sometimes a separation between the QA teams and the development teams. So, to differentiate QA, I think some developers think of it as just meeting the minimum requirements for release, whether it's on console, whether it's on PC, but there's no real certification on PC, so you can pretty much release anything you want. And on mobile, which you do have an entry point for your game's quality, right? So a lot of developers just want to get to that minimum level. And you also know that there's other games, other developers, other publishers that do aim for that excellence in their game. So there's obviously a difference in the objectives of each game and each developer, and it has to do with their return of investment. What do they want out of their QA? What do they want out of their results? Do they want to just release the game, cash in, and go on to the next one, or do they want to release a game that works properly, works as expected, and keep keep working on it and keep releasing content for it and keep that product alive for a long time. So again, it's about developers choose what do they want based on what do they want from their game, right? Their return. So, I think we're missing some text in there. I'm gonna try to, there you go, some animation. So, for all games, you will always have that same, this is true, right? When you have poor functionality, your games are not gonna be happy. It doesn't matter how hard you worked in your game. It doesn't matter how much they enjoy the games that you make, what publisher you are. I mean, you can for sure remember a few examples from the last couple of years of games that were supposed to be the most groundbreaking games in the decade, and their functionality and the QA was so poor that they got sued by their investors, right? The games got pulled from the stores. Microsoft said, this game, you can buy this game, but it's crap, right? So how does that happen on a game that's supposed to be the next best thing? So obviously, when you have poor quality, you have less player enjoyment, which leads to poor reviews. We gotta remember that it's way more likely for someone with a negative experience to leave a review than for someone with a positive experience to leave a review. Because someone with a positive experience, it's kind of what's expected, right? To have a positive experience. A negative experience, no one wants a negative experience. So most likely, you guys, whenever you've had a negative experience, you've left a bad review, whether it's a restaurant, a game, a service, etc. So it's way more likely that you'll get bad reviews. And when you get bad reviews, people are not going to want to buy your game. So in the end, lack of QA, a lack of QA and a lack of this process, or poor QA, will directly impact your game and will lead to poor sales. And as we can see here, this is something that I found out while I was doing the research. 20% of people will just leave your game with one bad experience. I mean, there's been games that I played that I'm like, nope, this is not happening, right? So that's the ultimate impact is that your game's going to suffer, right? And your bottom line, whatever it is, it's going to suffer. Same with linguistic, same as with functional QA. We also have localization QA or linguistic QA, and it's also a step that we see a lot of times people skipping, especially on the mobile world. People think, okay, it's in English, everyone speaks English. I have news for you. Not everyone speaks English. The fact that we move around maybe friends or in an industry where we all speak English and it's a language that unites us, a lot of people just don't do it or are not comfortable, even if they understand it on TV or whatnot, or they can understand or speak a little bit. It doesn't mean that they're comfortable. I work with plenty of people that are fully bilingual or trilingual, and they will still play their games in French or in Italian or whatever language they speak, whatever's their main language, right? So it's important to have also the localization process, your translation, your QA, and yeah, having those done poorly, especially linguistic QA, can take you out of the experience, right? I mean, this is an actual example of a released game on mobile, right? So you tell me if that doesn't take you out of the experience. It does, right? So I think as the takeaway, and it looks like I'm reading, but I'm not. I did practice this a little bit. In the end, when your QA done is correctly, no one will notice it. No one will see QA. No one will see the benefits of it because things will work as expected. No one will notice the placeholders that are not there. No one will notice the game-breaking bugs that are not there, right? That's the goal. QA is invisible to the player, and when it's visible, then that's a problem because it wasn't done correctly. And I think it's very important. I mean, if you guys are in development or thinking about it, that takeaway is, I think, probably the best thing, right? A player will not notice the good QA, and that was changed. That initially said, actually, a good game, good QA doesn't make a game fun, but bad QA can make a good game bad, right? So I think that's the takeaway that you guys need to leave with. So I think I need to hurry up. After I spoke to several game development and publishers, management teams, QA management teams, and although this is really not a figure that anyone can verify because it's not really out there, usually this is kind of kept in-house for a lot of these people. About 1 in 10 games are released with QA saying, yes, your game's good to go. So that means that the other 9 QA said, we don't think it's ready, but there's obviously other things to take into account, right? Like there's other decision makers that need to take a lot of other things into account. So games are actually being released without QA giving that green light or giving that approval, if you will. So why is this happening, right? The decision makers, they usually can be people that are not really in the QA world or have no experience in QA, and that's totally fine. But I think there's a misunderstanding, and it says in there about the importance of QA. A lot of times other aspects are giving a priority, which is, again, totally fine. Like everyone releases their game as they want, and everyone has their own priorities. But to really listen to QA feedback, it's important. So it's a weird thing. So really quickly, I'm gonna go through a quick storytelling. We had a mobile developer approaches. They had some issues with their game, where they were having issues with certain devices, which then they later found out that it was lower specification devices. They missed this because they thought QA is not important, or we can do a little bit of QA and that should be good. So they used people that were not experts in QA, that did not have the tools, that did not have the processes, that did not have the equipment. But they thought, it's gonna be good. We tested on a few devices and it works well and you're good to go. The problem is that you couldn't get past a certain point of their game, and they really couldn't figure it. They couldn't figure it out. So they came to us. They brought us this problem. They told us what they needed, what they wanted, and we have way more devices than they would. So we went ahead, did the test, provided the information that they wanted. They had some test plans that they wanted us to follow, and ultimately it ended up being something that they did not or could not fix. Some things you can, some things you can't. But what ended up happening is that they increased the minimum requirements for the game, and basically this problem disappeared because people that were having the issue were no longer able to access the game. Now, I don't know what happened, if they had any, they had to return money, or for microtransactions, maybe. But the game went from a 1.5 stars or 1.5 reviews to 3.8, I think, in the span of a few weeks. right? So more people were playing their game than they were when they had, let's say, a larger base, right? So their base got smaller, but more people were playing their game than when they first released. So what do we need? What do we need for the future? I think it's important that you guys and everyone that's developing, that we are here for, like, we have the same goal, right? Like QA and any other department, our goal is for your game to be the best that it can. And I've never met anyone in QA that says, I don't want that game to be successful, I'm not going to report a bug. No, that we all want your game to succeed, right? So we're seeing a lot of people, and I'm seeing this change in the last couple of years. Specifically, we're seeing a lot of developers actually start bringing in QA earlier, because they've probably noticed in the last decade, so from the early 2010s to the late 2010s, there was this trend of poor QA and then relying on patches and just things. Really, we got accustomed to games releasing like garbage, and then it would take a year for a game to be properly played. I mean, you can still see them today, but this seems to be changing. People, we're getting a lot more requests to bring people, to bring testers into the development process earlier, which are usually yes, almost ready, which are usually called dev testers. So we're seeing a lot of people ask for dev testers, ask for embedded testers. We have teams that we've been working with developers from 2.5 years before the release of the game, when usually QA takes place in the last 6 months or so. So we're speaking to developers that want, are already inquiring about QA, and they're 3 years from actually starting proper production, right? So there's definitely a shift in mentality. Why this is, I don't know. I think it has to do with just multiple failures from everyone. But there's change. There's a change happening, and I think us as gamers, because I am a QA person, but I'm also a huge gamer, and I think I'm tired of just buying a game and it not performing how it should. So I think all the decision makers and everyone working on their games, they're noticing this. So this is changing. Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I have any more time. So. That's it. Well, I did miss a couple of things in there for the presentation. Animations are not good for presentations. Oh, that's a huge one. Really quick, sorry. So as you go, right, when you're bringing in earlier your QA team, your QA will probably be all those things: faster, cheaper, and better, right? So you're not going to have this massive team for 3 months, and your development team is going to have to go through a backlog of things and get swamped, right? So if you get a couple of people in early, they can work next to your development team, and you can address things in a more natural way, right? And it's going to be cheaper. You're not going to have such a massive team, and your end product is going to be better. So that one's great. That one's really, really good. Any questions? I think we're short on time.
Yeah, we've got to move on. Do catch up with Rafael on the show.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah. Find out what TransPerfect can do for your game. Speak to the man right here. But thank you for that.
Thank you,
Rafael.
Thank you, everyone. And do make sure to visit us at the TransPerfect booth. And if you go back here, you should find some cookies and some goodies. So please go ahead. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so
much. Have a lovely day.
Great, man. Thank you for that.